America isn't being torn apart by foreign enemies. It's being divided from within. This is The Enemy Within: How America Turned on Itself. Across the country, politics no longer ends at the ballot box. It literally defines geography. The red and blue? Not colors anymore, as they've started to act as borders within the same nation. Texas pushes back against federal mandates, asserting state control over immigration and energy. In contrast, sanctuary cities refuse to comply with national policies, challenging Washington's authority in public view. Legal disputes once settled quietly now play out as open defiance. Governors sue federal agencies, state legislatures pass laws contradicting national directives, and citizens align with their state's ideology more than the flag itself. The Constitution, once a unifying framework, has become a battlefield of interpretation. For millions, identity now depends on location, not nationality. The idea of one America feels more symbolic than functional. What began as political disagreement has evolved into structural division, where the question is no longer who leads, but who actually governs. And when leadership divides, the next casualty is always trust itself. Across every institution, confidence is eroding. Government approval ratings sink to record lows as voters lose faith in elected officials to act beyond partisanship. Media outlets, once seen as sources of truth, now serve as ideological filters. Every headline is being questioned, every fact debated, and even every motive is being assumed. The erosion spreads further. Public health, education, and law enforcement, institutions that were built on neutrality, now carry political labels. During the national crises, cooperation collapses under suspicion. People no longer ask what's true, but who said it. The result is paralysis. Communities now ignore federal guidance, with schools battling over curriculum and local governments rewriting rules to fit political identity. Even science, we are talking data, and expertise is being judged by party lines. This was maybe once a disagreement, but now it's a disconnection. And without trust, laws lose weight, policies lose their reach, and the democracy begins to function like a series of competing opinions rather than a unified system of belief. And when trust disappears, people start taking protection into their own hands. Across rural counties and city edges, armed groups begin to reappear, and not as fringe movements, but as organized local forces. Calling themselves patriot militias or defense leagues, they claim to protect their communities from a government they no longer trust. Their uniforms vary, but their message is consistent. Authority belongs to whoever can enforce it. Armed demonstrations become common at courthouses, state capitals, and election offices. What once shocked the public now feels routine as civilians with rifles stand beside police barricades. Law enforcement finds itself in an impossible position, caught between constitutional rights and rising tension. Ideological boundaries replace legal ones. Officers have started to hesitate to intervene, fearing political backlash. Some departments quietly align with local sentiment, others withdraw completely. The balance between free expression and public safety blurs. Each confrontation leaves a mark, and it's not just in headlines, but in public psychology. And that is reinforcing the belief that conflict, not compromise, decides who holds power. But once the money starts fleeing, unity becomes an illusion. As political division deepens, economic confidence unravels. All major corporations quietly relocate headquarters from contested states, citing operational uncertainty. Investors shift capital toward regions with predictable governance, creating invisible borders of financial trust. The stock market wavers as partisan policies ripple through energy, healthcare, and manufacturing sectors. Wall Street analysts begin mapping America not by industry but by ideology. Red states champion deregulation and low taxes, while blue states double down on environmental standards and labor protections. Supply chains fracture along political lines. Truckers refuse routes through certain territories. Tech hubs divide, data centers migrate, and even tourism declines. Global partners take note. Foreign investors see risk, not reliability. Sure, the dollar holds, for now, but whispers of safe zones dominate business headlines. The economic glue that once bound the nation just continues to dissolve, one policy at a time. Even though America's markets still function, the foundation beneath them is quietly splitting apart. And soon, the world begins watching America with disbelief. Foreign news outlets broadcast scenes of protests, armed standoffs, and fiery town halls. These were images once reserved for unstable nations. International audiences, once fascinated by the American dream, now see a country at war with itself. Embassies issue travel advisories, cautioning citizens to avoid politically charged regions. Major airlines quietly reroute or reduce flights to certain U.S. cities. Tourism boards scramble, but the damage is visible. Once bustling destinations like Washington, D.C. and Los Angeles see sharp declines in foreign visitors. Luxury hotels, Broadway theaters, and museums lose billions in revenue. Global events reconsider hosting in the U.S., citing security uncertainty. Even Hollywood's soft power begins to erode. Foreign filmmakers and critics describe a nation in identity crisis. The Statue of Liberty still stands, but its message feels hollow. For the first time in modern history, the world's tourists come not to be inspired, but to witness decline. The most dangerous battleground isn't in the streets. It's online in the endless scroll of rage and distortion. Every issue is now becoming a loyalty test, and every headline a weapon. Americans aren't just disagreeing anymore, they're living in separate realities. Algorithms feed outrage, creating digital tribes that see compromise as betrayal. Truth itself becomes subjective, reshaped by memes, influencers, and partisan feeds. Foreign actors exploit these fractures, flooding social media with fake accounts and divisive narratives. The same freedoms that built America's open discourse now serve as tools for chaos. Conspiracy theories outpace verified facts, reaching millions before any correction can catch up. Journalists and educators, once trusted guides, are branded as enemies by one side or the other. The result is paralysis, a nation unable to agree even on what's real. America's digital town square, once a symbol of free speech, has turned into a psychological war zone where unity is no longer the goal, just victory over each other. After words and laws fail, force quietly takes their place. In cities across America, you see armored vehicles roll where school buses once ran. The National Guard that was once reserved for hurricanes and wildfires is now answering calls to contain unrest. Governors request deployments with growing frequency, and the line between assistance and occupation blurs. Soldiers stand between rival protesters with their uniforms caught in a political storm they never really signed up for. Inside the ranks, unease grows. The mission is no longer foreign, it's domestic and personal. Some troops question orders that pit them against fellow citizens. Others see it as a duty, a defense of order amid chaos. Critics warn that normalizing military presence erodes civil trust and weakens democracy's foundation. The symbolism is impossible to ignore as a nation so fractured it needs its own army to keep peace at home. And yet the real question lingers: how long before peacekeeping becomes policing? And the deeper you look, the harder the divisions become. Across the country, governors can be seen crafting their own foreign policies, with mayors challenging state directives and regional identities hardening like borders. Once united, the 50 states under one flag now feels like a patchwork of nations trying to compete. Each side speaks its own language of truth and justice, and sadly, no one's listening anymore. Federal authority weakens further as states form economic alliances, pass contradictory laws, and straight up refuse cooperation on national policies. The Constitution still holds on paper, but in practice, power is fragmenting. Tech hubs, energy states, and cultural centers drift apart, reshaping America into clusters of ideology and survival. Foreign observers watch closely, investors hedge their bets, and old allies whisper at once seemed unthinkable, that America's divisions might be irreversible. The map hasn't changed, but the meaning behind its borders has. And as new loyalties form quietly in the shadows, much larger cracks are beginning to appear. If the real battle is happening within, how long can America hold together? Let us know what you think in the comments.